The one good thing about social media is that it gives everybody a voice.
Yeah.
But one bad thing about social media is that it gives everybody a voice. The loudest voices in this field on Instagram, on YouTube, aren't necessarily hair transplant surgeons or even doctors for that matter. They might be influencers who have their own agendas, who have their own conflicts of interest that you are unaware about.
Saw a clip on Instagram that a person was implanting almost 10,000 or 12,000 grafts. I mean, that was just insane because one being Turkey, which we all know, especially for hair transplants. What do you think? Is it the skill or is it the country that is promoted? Or what do you feel? The younger generation, baldness affects their psyche, and body shaming is so normal now. It's normalized. I've seen so many stand-up comedians taking it for granted.
So many other forms of body shaming have rightfully been criticized.
Yes.
You should not shame someone for the color of their skin.
Yeah.
You should not shame someone for their weight.
Yeah.
But somehow baldness, it is still okay to make jokes about.
That is correct.
Takla,
Yes.
motte.
Yes. Yeah.
There is a double standard over there, wherein this body shaming is okay, but that body shaming is not okay.
Crazy things which are spoken about on social media, like sapphire hair transplant, something like DHI and GFCs.
There is something called the Kardashian index, which means that something is famous for being famous. There are so many companies for hair loss. One company is selling minoxidil lotion. One company is selling a non-minoxidil kind of herbal lotion. The minoxidil lotion company is saying minoxidil is the best thing on the planet, everyone should take oral minoxidil. The herbal lotion company is saying minoxidil is the worst thing for your body, do not take minoxidil. They literally run ads like this.
Hello everyone, so welcome to the Aesthetic Health podcast here at the Venkat Center for Aesthetic Health. This is Dr. Aniketh and this is Dr. Mihir. We're both plastic surgeons and we would love to have a talk today on the social media effect on hair transplant. So we live in a world where everything's put out right out in the open in social media, and hair transplantation being one of the most common surgeries for young men. I think it's a very important topic to discuss this in this era. Dr. Aniketh, what do you think? Who controls the narrative here?
This topic is very important. Obviously, social media, the rise of everyone knows how big it has gotten. I've been doing hair transplants for almost a decade now. You've been doing it from roughly around 3 years.
Yeah.
So you probably haven't seen the whole arc of how it has changed things that I have. So when you got into this social media was already a big part of hair transplant. But that wasn't always the case. And compared to 10 years ago, it has changed a lot of things. Some good, some bad, some ugly. And that is where it has had a lot of impact on social media. The one good thing about social media is that it gives everybody a voice. But one bad thing about social media is that it gives everybody a voice. So those voices oftentimes are not necessarily the most trustworthy voices. Many times the person who is the most proficient in a field might not be the greatest communicator or the one who is able to captivate a large audience, and vice versa. Someone who's quite entertaining, who's able to garner a large audience might not be the person most proficient in that field, and that is where a disconnect happens. Ideally, you want these two things to go together, wherein the loudest voices are also the most knowledgeable voices, but that need not be the case. So that's the problem in the social media era, where a lot of the loudest voices in this field on Instagram, on YouTube, aren't necessarily hair transplant surgeons or even doctors for that matter. They might be influencers who have their own agendas, who have their own conflicts of interest that you are unaware about. So the information that might be reaching the public might not be the best information. I'm sure you have seen this with patients that come. Many of them come with so many questions framed by social media that you wonder who's telling you these things, why are you hearing these things, why are you thinking of these things.
That's correct.
And so that is where it has a great power for information, it has a great power for misinformation. So it is equally important for us to counter that misinformation by putting the facts. Social media makes everything appear black and white, but very rarely in life is that the case. Typically, it is much more nuanced.
That's correct. Also, these celebrity surgeons who claim to have a lot of before afters. As you said, I've seen a lot of things that is quite questionable, but it's important for the facts to be also placed out there, because we got to be responsible for our patients. Yes, as you said, I've not seen the whole arc of it, so it would be really interesting to know how it was back then. So this is very interesting. So very recently, I saw a clip on Instagram that a person was implanting almost 10,000 or 12,000 grafts. I mean, that was just insane, because you and I know how many grafts are kind of feasible, but I really don't know. We live in the era of AI, whether it's actually true or not. But it seemed crazy to me, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you were asking how things were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, for example, the patient would come and they would tell their problem, and we would tell them what the solution is.
Yeah.
You need medical treatment, you need this many grafts. Now, the patient does so much research on social media and they have a preformed idea that they come with the treatment already in mind. They come saying, I want 8,000 grafts. They come saying, I want 6,000 grafts. And it is very hard, if what they are asking is not right for them, it's very hard to change their mind.
Yes.
And social media rewards the extreme. The more extreme you are in social media, the more eyeballs you get.
Yes.
Every social media platform basically wants you to spend as much time on the platform as possible.
Yes.
So you see a regular hair transplant of 2,000, 3,000 grafts, that's not something that's very exciting.
Correct.
You see someone that's putting 10,000 grafts, you're like, oh my god, what is this?
Yes.
And here again, the person will promise things which the lay person has no. As doctors, you and I know that this is not possible, or what he's saying is not true.
That's
the lay
true.
person doesn't have the knowledge to understand all that.
Yes.
So there is this graft culture, this graft obsession that has happened, wherein more grafts equals more result equals better surgery.
Yeah.
Which is not the case. You and I know that there is a lot more nuance to it.
Yeah.
Now, here there are two things. One is, can you do that surgery safely? Secondly, which a lot of people don't think about, whatever you do, is it good for the long term?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that there are people putting 10,000 grafts. Even you and I can put 10,000 grafts. It's not a question of ability. We have the ability to put 10,000 grafts.
Yes.
But you know the reasons why you shouldn't put 10,000 grafts. Why don't you tell them?
Yeah, so packing grafts so closely to each other can compromise the vascularity, the hairs in the back of the head, that's the donor area. So all these things can actually be detrimental to the result. Implanting so many in one go is not a great idea, but spacing them over probably 6 months to a year, yeah, that sounds a lot more doable and medically sound.
So, and also when you're taking that many grafts, either you are taking unsafe grafts which are going to fall in the future, or you're taking too many grafts from the donor area and you are making the donor area very empty, which one can either look very bad, or two, it can damage the donor area, and the hairs in the donor area undergo miniaturization of their own.
Yeah.
And these are all things that you don't hear of. Particularly, if a person has existing hairs and they need medical treatment and you're putting so many grafts, you're doing the patient a disservice. You can improve all that existing hair with your medical treatment. But this requires a long-term view. You need to think about the patient, what he will do 5 years, 10 years down the line. In terms of that particular surgery, that clinic will earn a lot more money doing 10,000 grafts and 5,000 grafts. So they're taking the short-term view of extracting as much as possible from the patient in that session. And it might even look good for some time, and the patient might even look happy for some time, and those before and after videos look very exciting on social media. But you don't know the story 5 years later, 10 years later, when a lot of those grafts fall off, and then there is no donor area for us to work with, and there is no way to correct what has gone wrong.
Yeah, there was a certain patient who came to me, and based on my assessment, he needed 4,000 grafts. And then he told me when I went to another doctor, he said he needed 8,000. So I was like shocked. And then the narrative that was given was, either way the existing hairs are going to fall off at some point of time. So why don't we just replace your entire scalp with new hairs? There is a lot of room for preserving your existing hairs with medications, PRP, which are very proven. So we live in such a world where patients think that more grafts, better doctor.
Yeah, so that again goes to social media.
Yes.
Medical treatment isn't attractive on social media. There's nothing to show.
Exactly.
There's no video of you taking out a hair, putting in a hair. What do you show a video of someone taking a tablet or putting the spray? So it's not social media friendly. So social media is driving everybody more and more to the surgical part of things.
That's true. There's nothing very fancy about a drug, right? Yeah, another thing that I wanted to talk about is people travel to different countries, one being Turkey, which we all know, especially for hair transplants. What do you think? Is it the skill or is it the country that is promoted, or what do you feel?
So I don't want to badmouth any particular country. We have people traveling to India as well for surgeries.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's not about the country; it's about the surgeon.
Yes.
The surgeon who is operating on you is ultimately the biggest factor. The center that is operating on you is ultimately the biggest factor.
Yeah.
So that is should be your number one priority. It's not that a surgery in Turkey is automatically better than a surgery somewhere else. Where you're getting, who is operating on you is what ultimately counts. If something goes wrong, however rare that is, are they in a position to help you out in that situation? So for example, we in India, we get a lot of patients from abroad, but we also have friends all over the planet. So we have a network of surgeons that people can go and visit if they have any issues. See, we do a lot of international patients. We also do a lot of local patients. We're not like a exclusively medical tourism center.
Yeah.
One thing which can happen in places which are like exclusively medical tourism focused is what I just mentioned. They're only thinking about that one surgery that you're doing with them at that one point of time. They're not thinking about you down the line, 5 years, 10 years later. They don't think you're going to come back. So in this one surgery, let us do as much as possible. That is something that can happen when medical tourism becomes your overwhelming focus. Whereas for a place that is catering to its local population, they are a part of that community. They have to be answerable to that community. They cannot run anywhere. They cannot hide anywhere. So that is where the ethics of practice becomes much more strong.
But I think there is a huge scope for medical tourism in India. With the talent that we have, the facilities that we have, I think it's time that we take over some other countries and a lot of promising years to come. Yes.
Well, I mean, a lot of things are not in our hands. As I said here, the decision making should only be on the surgeon and his outcomes. Other perks such as a free airport transfer, a free hotel stay, that should not be your primary decision making. That's not why you are undergoing the procedure. So that is where, I mean, what we can do is we can do good work and hope that people choose us and trust us instead.
That's true. Yeah. I've also seen in my practice that a lot of patients are getting, I mean, the people who are entering my clinic are a lot more younger than before.
Yes.
Because of social media, they're very well aware about male pattern baldnesses because of genetics. So they, even though they are not balded already, they just want to come and say, what do we do? Can we do something to prevent it? What's your take on that?
It's good and it's bad. It's good that people are more aware and there is less stigma about seeking help for hair loss.
Yeah.
It's bad if social media pushes them into a state of body dysmorphia wherein they're out of touch with reality and they feel like what is there is much worse than what it actually is.
Yeah.
And particularly, you know this, in younger patients, we need to be a little bit more careful because we don't know how the hair loss is ultimately going to express itself.
Yeah.
At younger ages, we don't want to be very aggressive in a hair transplant and do too much, and then we don't realize what's going to happen later. He balds a lot more, and you have already burnt your bridges by doing too much early on. So this is again, young people are more on social media, so obviously they are going to be consuming social media a lot more. It's again, these are all nuances. These are not black and white, and there is no room for nuance in social media. What nuance do you give in a 60-second reel? You can dance and point at things on the screen and that's it. You can't have this kind of detailed talk. So which is why hopefully this longer format podcast is a way for us to reach people and clarify some of these finer aspects.
I also feel the younger generation, it affects their psyche. Baldness affects their psyche, and body shaming is so normal now. It's normalized. I've seen so many stand-up comedians taking it for granted. I think I don't completely agree with that. There has to we have to draw a line, and it's not cool to call
No,
someone
it's a
bald.
weird thing where so many other forms of body shaming have rightfully been criticized.
Yes.
You should not shame someone for the color of their skin.
Yeah.
You should not shame someone for their weight.
Yeah.
But somehow baldness it is still okay to make jokes about.
That is correct.
Takla,
Yes.
motte.
Yes. Yeah.
There is a double standard over
Yeah,
there, wherein this body shaming is okay, but that body shaming is not okay.
Yeah.
None of it is okay. You must have seen this when you entered practice, that the kind of psychological impact that it has on patients and the kind of rejections they have faced in life.
Most of the times they come to us either a year before marriage or before seeking alliances. So it really affects them.
Yes.
And it also boosts their confidence
Yes.
once the result happens.
Yes.
Just today I saw a patient who came after 5 months post transplant. He was very happy. He said that it's helped his personal life, his life at work. People have called him out and said, "Hey, you're looking a lot better." So this is not spoken about too much. Yeah. What do you think about these crazy things which are spoken about on social media, like sapphire hair transplant, something like DHI and GFCs? Of course, people are aware of it. Just what's your take on it?
Here again, there is something called the Kardashian index, which means that something is famous for being famous. It's not that there is anything inherently underneath. Social media is good for these kind of flashy terms, but a lot of them simply don't make sense.
Correct.
Particularly, like for example, sapphire hair transplant. As a hair transplant surgeon, I'm always amazed that it has become as big a terminology as it has. What is sapphire hair transplant? You're using a sapphire blade to make holes instead of using a metallic blade. Why will that be inherently better? The ultimate factor is how the surgeon is making the blade, how deep he is making the hole, at what angle he is making the hole. The sapphire blade doesn't control any of that. It's not some kind of robot. Literally, it's like saying that if I cut my food with a glass knife, it's going to taste better than cutting it with a metallic knife. This is where some things just take a life of their own. And then this is where people also need to employ their critical thinking. People need to think, okay, how does making a hole with a glass blade automatically make things better? It has no chemical property, it has no biological property, it's purely a physical phenomenon driven by the hand of the operating surgeon. And GFC, again, same thing. None of these are inherently good or bad. It is just like we use sapphire blades as well. I'm not saying don't use sapphire blades. It's just that doing a sapphire blade or doing a GFC doesn't automatically make things better. But that is where social media doesn't understand that. Someone will say, I do GFC, therefore I am better. I do sapphire, therefore I am better. That's just not the case. These are all tools. Ultimately, what matters is the skill of the person wielding those tools. Same thing, you mentioned DHI. DHI is a trademark name for FUE. One clinic which was doing FUE trademarked the term DHI. Now people think it's a separate procedure, whereas it's not. It is a kind of FUE itself. And it takes so much effort to make patients understand that DHI is a type of FUE. They come in so convinced that there is FUT, FUE and DHI. These are three different things. You can explain to them what is DHI.
DHI basically is not just the extraction of the grafts, but also it being implanted quickly as soon as the extraction is done. So that whole process of the graft harvest and the implantation is what is known as direct hair implantation. So follicular unit extraction specifically is we are talking about the hair extraction process of the whole hair transplantation. So it's basically 1+1. I think social media definitely has good impacts on the whole hair transplantation topic, because I feel 5 to 10 years back, not many people were aware of the whole thing. People were just happy if some hairs on the front were there, and they were just happy with it. But with social media presence, I think everyone had to up their games, and people were much more well informed. So I feel that I think it's good that it's there, but it has to be, people have to be responsible, and a greater responsibility for us as health professionals to make sure that the right content is put out there.
Social media isn't all bad. Like I said, there's good, bad, and then there's ugly.
Yeah.
The good thing about social media, it has really reduced the stigma of undergoing a hair transplant. Before, we would have patients who would come wanting to hide this from their family. They would say, "Sir, doctor, I don't want my parents to find out I am doing this. They won't understand. They won't support me." That has changed. People in general, their family members, everyone, it has become destigmatized. It is not seen as something taboo that you shouldn't do. It is like any other procedure. If you have any other issue in your body, getting it fixed is not regarded as something taboo. Same thing here. Your genetics is causing your hair to fall off. Medicine has a way to give it back. So what's the shame in that? So that's the good part in this. And as you said, the other good part is that it has overall raised the standard of care, because you see something good that someone else is doing, you do it yourself, and this has helped the field of hair transplant everywhere. It's not all bad, but what is important is to keep your critical thinking alive, be suspicious of things that are too good to be true. There's a saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. That's usually the case in most things in life, and with hair transplantation as well. So keep your hair critical thinking alive. Know who you're getting your information from. Ideally, if it could be that social media, only the people qualified on a topic talk on that topic, that would be best, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So in the meantime, be aware of where you are getting your information from. See who your sources are. Do they have any vested interest? Do they have any conflict of interest? Here, it's very funny. Like, there are so many companies for hair loss. One company is selling minoxidil lotion. One company is selling a non-minoxidil kind of herbal lotion. The minoxidil lotion company is saying minoxidil is the best thing on the planet. Everyone should take oral minoxidil. The herbal lotion company is saying minoxidil is the worst thing for your body. Do not take minoxidil. They literally run ads like this. What is the layperson going to understand? He's being bombarded with two different hair points. So this is where talk to a qualified professional, talk to a doctor, clear your doubts from him, and use that information to make your decisions. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So concluding, I agree with you, and I think people should see who's their doctor and make informed decisions, and don't jump into conclusions just because you saw a reel. Verify what you're trying to find, and reach out to trusted sources. I'm glad that you were patient enough to see the third episode of the aesthetic health podcast here. It was wonderful talking to you, Dr. Aniketh, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Probably in some time we'll be doing one on AI in hair transplant.
Yeah, very soon.